All right. Welcome back to The Bright Side. Thanks for joining us. We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific and 10 to 11 Central Time. We're also on our archive page at 24/7 on the archive page at brightsideben.com. We've been talking about grains. We've been talking about anxiety. We'll get back to talking about nitric oxide and nitrates here in a little bit. I just want to finish up a few things about grains. And there's so many problems, so many health problems associated with the seeds. The grains are seeds. These are the source of most calories that we get, either directly from bread and pasta and processed flours and cereals, etc., or indirectly when you factor in dairy and meat, which in a sense are also derived from grains, unfortunately. Cattle are not really grain eaters necessarily, although that's what we feed them. Cattle are grass herbivores. They eat grasses, not so much seeds. In any case, when we eat dairy, when we drink dairy, when we eat meat, these days even when we eat fish, we're getting lots of grains and grain components. And grains contain lots of problematic components. For one thing, they contain these compounds we've been talking about called lectins, Lectins. Lectins. Lectins act as stimulators of defensive responses. Plants make lectins to protect themselves, as we've said so many times. It's kind of ironic when you think about it, in the sense that plants and the vegetable kingdom, and particularly the seeds from plants, are the most important sources of compounds. And this is kind of ironic because we kind of don't think of veggies as being toxic or problematic or poisonous. How ironic is it that vegetables contain poisons, particularly in the seeds? That's exactly what a grain is. How ironic is it that these grains and seeds and vegetables in the bodies of vegetables, how ironic is it that they contain these poisons? And for the most part, meat and fish, with some exceptions anyway, in case of fish, for the most part, meat and fish don't contain any poisons. You don't tend to think of vegetables that way. You don't tend to think of plants that way. We tend to think of meat as being the problem. And really, that's what we hear all the time, that meat and animal products are really problematic, and vegetables, you should be a vegetarian because it's safer for you. Well, as it turns out, seeds don't want to be eaten. Plants don't want to be eaten, and they make things that punish those animals who would be brave enough to indulge. All plants make these compounds. All seeds contain these compounds, and that includes wheat seeds, which we call grain. This is why throughout history, wheat seeds / grains have had to be crushed, have had to be milled. One of the greatest supposed advances in the history of humanity was the invention of the automated flour mill. The automated flour mill was invented in the late 18th century. It used pulleys and had levers. It was just this huge contraption, had to be located near rivers because it was powered by water, but it could process a lot of flour. Milling is a type of processing, and while milling can get you a lot of calories, it doesn't necessarily get you a lot of nutrition. That's because the calories don't degrade as rapidly as the nutrients do when a product is milled. When you mill a product, you break up the coating on the seed or on the grain. The calories remain a lot longer than the nutrients do. Nutrients tend to be far less stable than the calories. Recently, it was discovered that grinding seeds is something that human beings have been doing for thousands of years, even pre-agriculturally. Hunter-gatherers were the first practitioners of the so-called paleo diet. Used to grind up seeds to make them more edible and palatable. The problem with grinding seeds is it exposes the nutrients to the environment, specifically to oxygen, and that makes them break down. That degrades them. This is especially problematic with the oils. Seeds contain wonderful oils, essential fatty acid oils, vitamin oils, especially vitamin E. And these oils are particularly sensitive to oxygen and to light. Nature protects these oils, these vitamins and essential fats, with the coating on the grain, but once it's milled away, once it's processed away, milling is a kind of processing, these sensitive elements are destabilized, especially the oils, and that's called rancidity. The B vitamins and these seeds and grains are rich sources of the B vitamins, but they're also unstable, and much of these B vitamins are also lost. Even in doing the old style milling, the paleo type of milling, where they took a couple of stones and they kind of ground the seeds up, even that will degrade the B vitamins, let alone the more modern 21st century high technology factory milling techniques. In any case, while the milling and the processing can make the grains more palatable, it releases the sugars, it makes them sweeter, it doesn't eliminate the lectins. It might eliminate some of the nutritional value, but the lectins tend to stay. These plant defensive molecules tend to stay in the flour. And while gluten gets all the press, Everybody's going gluten-free and gluten-free brownies and gluten-free cakes and gluten-free beer and gluten-free pizza. Lectins might even be worse than the gluten, and the lectins are still in the gluten-free products. Lectins, even if they're not worse, they're just as bad, all of which is to say there's a lot of problems associated with grains, whether those grains are whole grains or whether those grains are processed flour, white flour, cereal type of grains. One particularly nasty lectin is called WGA. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. WGA stands for Wheat Germ Agglutinin. It's located in the central part of the grain, the germ part. This is where all the nutrients, or the bulk of the nutrients, are located, but it's also where the WGA is located. WGA is called agglutinin because it glutenizes, or it globs up, red blood cells. And the reason it globs up these red blood cells is very, very interesting and has a lot of implications when it comes to protecting ourselves from lectins and WGA. And I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back after this. Okay, so we're talking wheat germ agglutinin. I love saying that. Agglutinin, that's the stuff, wheat germ agglutinin. WGA is a compound that's found in grains, not just wheat. There's WGA-like or similar compounds that are similar to WGA found in barley, found in rye, found in pretty much all grains. Even potatoes and tomatoes, so-called nightshade vegetables, may contain compounds that are similar to WGA. This is why I have a problem with all of these kind of canned diets, these top 10 foods that you're supposed to stay away from, etc. type of diets. You can't really go by these kinds of things. You got to see how you personally react to specific foods. And this is why I have a problem with gluten-free. And these things become cliches. They become marketing jargon. You have to see how you personally react to specific foods. You got to see how you react to wheat if you're going to determine whether wheat is a problem. You got to see how you react to barley or rye or tomatoes or potatoes if you're going to assess the problematic nature of these kinds of foods. One of the major reasons why these kinds of foods, seeds and vegetables, are problematic is because of lectins like WGA. WGA has an effect specifically on something called glucosamine, which we talk about all the time as a supplement, but glucosamine is located on the outside part of cells, and there's a reaction that occurs between these plant compounds and the glucosamine in cells. It especially happens on red blood cells, which contain glucosamine on their coating, and when the WGA contacts the glucosamine on a red blood cell, boom, globs it up, sticks it up. That's where it gets the term agglutinin. The WGA and the lectin initiate coagulation. This is a common response to poisons. It's a common plant defense mechanism. It's a great way for plants to protect themselves. Animals eat the plants. The plant punishes the animal by making the animal's blood clot, thereby killing the animal, or at least making the animal sick or weak. In essence, WGA and lectins are a plant's revenge on the animal who would be silly enough to eat it. And compared to gluten, which is not technically a lectin, gluten is not technically a lectin. Compared to gluten, lectins are just as significant, if not more significant, when it comes to joint problems. That's because joints also contain glucosamine. We all know that. We take glucosamine for our joints. Why? Because the glucosamine in the supplement will go into making cartilage, making joint tissue. Well, if you're using WGA, or if you're eating WGA or lectins or grains, the negative effects of glucosamine interactions can kick in, and that's where these lectins can cause problems with joint inflammation and arthritis. Really, any kind of inflammation can be linked to ingestion of lectins and WGAs, including mental health problems, by the way. Neurons, brain cells, contain glucosamine also, and WGA can affect the brain. This is why I have such a problem with the messaging, the meme, the mind virus that is perpetuated upon us by marketers and people selling us products, the meme called gluten-free. I have such a problem with that term. It's misleading, it's simplistic, it's more about marketing than it is about health, and worst of all, it fools us, it tricks us into buying products that we consider to be safe, thinking that we're all okay because we're gluten-free. And then we end up eating foods that we probably shouldn't be eating, but we don't know what's wrong. We have arthritis, or we have digestive issues, or we have mental health problems, and we think, oh, well, I'm gluten-free. It can't be these brownies because they're gluten-free. What I'm saying here is you can eat all the gluten-free brownies and pizza and drink all the gluten-free beer you want, but that doesn't mean you're going to be symptom-free if you're ingesting these lectins, these WGAs. And as far as mental health goes, WGA can be particularly harmful for the brain, and that includes causing anxiety, which is the topic that we started covering here a couple of days ago. The problems associated with grains and mental health are described in great detail in a very good book called Grain Brain. If you can find it. These days you can get Grain Brain in paperback. Dr. David Perlmutter is the author, Perlmuttr. He's still got an MD approach to this, but he raises some very interesting points about the effects of these lectins, these WGAs, these non-gluten compounds on the brain. So you can eat all the gluten-free food you want, gluten-free cereal you want, but if you have a problem with WGA or lectins, you're going to have issues. You're going to have inflammatory issues. You're going to have autoimmune issues. These potentially, anyway. You're going to have potentially any kind of immune problem. However, the fact that these lectins react with glucosamine on cells and cause problems can actually be turned around, and we can actually take advantage of glucosamine in the form of glucosamine supplements to protect us from lectins. Now, I haven't seen any science that proves this, but theoretically anyway, because the reaction of lectins to cells is a glucosamine reaction. This is the main reason why it's called, as I say, WGA, because of its glucosamine interaction. The fact that it deactivates, that lectins deactivate glucosamine can actually be used to our benefit. It's possible that we can actually use the glucogel caps as protective supplements to protect ourselves from the effects of lectins. Now, again, I have not seen any scientific literature, so I'm only hypothesizing here. This is only a theory, but you may want to try the glucogel caps with your wheat or with your cereal or with your grains. If you can't stop eating these kinds of foods, but you know they're problematic, try using the glucogel caps with these kinds of foods, and you may get some protective effects. The glucogel caps may act like a decoy, diverting the lectins, diverting in a sort of heat-seeking missile kind of fashion, the way fighter planes will divert heat-seeking missiles by dropping a balloon out of their missile chute, whatever they call that thing, and then the heat-seeking missile will go for the balloon and not the plane. In the same kind of fashion, the glucogel caps may act like a diversion balloon, diverting the lectin away from your red blood cells, away from your joint cells, away from your brain cells, towards the glucosamine. The glucosamine is important for mental health issues. Brain cells contain glucosamine. This is one of the reasons why you may have anxiety issues, bipolar problems, even depression associated with grains. And it's also possible, at least theoretically, that psychotic disorders, schizophrenia and autism may be linked to this kind of this glucosamine brain cell interaction. However, the fact that WGA and lectins that are found in other veggies, including rice and barley and the nightshades perhaps, the fact that this stuff binds to glucosamine may make the glucogel caps protective against brain issues, mental health issues, anxiety issues. And again, I have not seen any scientific literature that corroborates this idea, so I'm being theoretical here. But theoretically, anyway, if you use the glucogel caps with your grains and with your lectin-containing foods, it may act as a decoy, diverting the lectins from the glucosamine on your cells in your brain and in your joints and in your red blood cells, etc., in this heat-seeking missile decoy balloon kind of fashion. Okay, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're going to take a break. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Our number is 844-236-6010. We got lines open for you, and we'll take your phone calls when we come back. Got more good health information also about lectins and WGAs. Don't go away. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. During the break here, I did a little research, and actually I did see a study here, glucosamine and plant lectins in autistic spectrum disorders, and this is actually a short study anyway. It's not a really in-depth study that talks about using glucosamine for protection against autism. So theoretically anyway, it makes sense. I thought it made sense. And apparently now there's a small study on 6 autistic children exposed to glucosamine 500 milligrams twice daily without any change in diet. Conclusion, glucosamine binds to potato lectin in the same manner and may protect the gut in responsive children. These autistic children, 5 out of 6 autistic children had relief from diarrhea. The 6th had no change in bowel habits. So this actually talks about lectins, about glucosamine protecting against lectin-induced digestive problems, not necessarily mental health issues. In any case, from a theoretical standpoint, using the glucogel caps may offer you some protection from lectin. Theoretically, it makes sense, although, as I say, I haven't seen any specific studies that have researched this. I will continue looking because I love to research, man. That's my favorite thing to do. Next to being on the air and sharing the information, I love accumulating the information. And that's why you want to listen to this program. This is a different kind of nutritional program. We don't give you the whole mainstream nutritional mumbo-jumbo claptrap that has passed through the filter of the mainstream media. You're getting my personal research, and I love to research. That's what I do all day. The stuff we talk about on this program, a lot of the stuff anyway, is going to be things based on ideas and subject matter that you don't hear on a lot of health and nutrition shows. I'm sure you know that if you've listened to this program. Okay. We will continue talking about lectins and glucosamine and grains, and then we'll finish up talking about, then we'll talk about gut bacteria and mental health issues, and then we'll get back to our subject that we've been covering for quite a while now, which is nitrates, nitrites, and nitric oxide. Okay, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Got a couple lines open for you at 844-236-6010. Let's take our first phone call of the day and go to Utah and welcome David to The Bright Side. Good morning, David. What's up?
I have some questions about the thyroid and adrenals.
Sure. What's up?
I had TSH tested, and a month ago it was at 13. And I made some changes in my diet and retested last week. And this time they decided they would test for T4s. So the TSH dropped down to 7.
Dude, you're way overthinking this, and your doctors are taking advantage. You don't need these stupid numbers, all right? TSH, T4, they change, they fluctuate, they don't reflect your thyroid levels. This is an insult to humanity. Now, I'm gonna accept the medical model's explanation that they don't know what else to do. I'm not going to say that they're, sneaky and devious. But the fact of the matter is, your TSH is going to go up and down, and your T4 is going to go up and down. It doesn't matter. What matters is your symptoms, David. So what do you got going on? You must have some health issues, correct?
My body temperature, I have not seen it above 97.8.
How's your weight? How's your weight, bro?
I'm about 20 pounds over, but I'm working on that again.
No worries. I'm not trying to put you down here. I'm just trying to get a picture of what's happening here.
How old are you? I know.
How old are you?
I'm 68.
Okay, good. You sound good. And what's your height to weight, David?
I'm 5'8", 180 pounds.
Okay, we got to get some pounds off you. Number one, so that's all I need to know really. Your weight gain is associated with blood sugar changes. As we get older, that's exactly what happens. We start to process sugar differently. Sugar starts to accumulate. The body can't handle sugar. It will store it as fat. This usually is secondary to digestive problems. You guys, David, I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to everybody listening to this program live or on archives, whatever. I'm talking right now to everybody. There's only 2 things you need to focus on if you got a health challenge, and 20 pounds overweight counts as a health challenge. I'm sure you got other things going on too. But whatever your health challenge is, assuming it's a degenerative, chronic, long-term issue, number 1, focus on blood sugar. And I don't care if the doctor told you don't have diabetes or your blood sugar is fine. It doesn't matter. If you got a health challenge that's chronic and degenerative, long-term and not improving, you got a blood sugar issue. If you got a blood sugar issue, the chances are really good you got a digestive issue. Why is this important? Because these are lifestyle problems that we can change and control and modify ourselves. We don't need a doctor, and you don't need to be tested. This is just a way that Quest Diagnostics, the CEO and the shareholders of Quest Diagnostics make money. Do you guys, not just David, I'm not just talking to you, David, do you really want to be an ATM machine for your doctor and for Quest Diagnostics? So here's what you do, David.
No, that's why I
Okay.
read the insert for Synthroid that they wanted me to take. I didn't start taking it. I wasn't.
Well, but it's not enough just to not take the drugs, although that's probably not a bad idea. You got to start to address the problem. So what do you do? All right, first of all, with blood sugar issues, first and foremost, you have to reduce. I'm not saying go zero tolerance, although if you can, that would be great, but at least reduce your intake of foods that throw off your blood sugar. That means all the foods we eat, for the most part, bread and pasta and cereal. I don't want to beat up on these kinds of foods because we do it all the time, but anything that throws off your blood sugar needs to be reduced or ideally eliminated. If you have a problem with willpowering or muscling your way away from the table, use more protein and coconut oil. And then make sure you're using the nutrients, the Mighty 90 essential nutrients that Dr. Wallach talks about all the time, that we talk about all the time, for helping process sugar. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients are the basics, not only for processing sugar, but for a lot of things, but especially for processing sugar. And that includes the B vitamins, which are your king sugar processing vitamins, especially niacin, B3, and thiamine, B1, but all of them are important. You'll get those in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and you'll also get them in living live foods like sprouts and algae and vegetables, fresh vegetables. So B vitamins and your Mighty 90 essential nutrients, in addition to reducing your intake of foods that throw off your blood sugar, B vitamins, your Mighty 90 essential nutrients. Make sure you're using chromium and vanadium. You'll get those in the Sweeties. And make sure you're using magnesium. You'll get that in the Beyond OsteoFX. If you want to throw in a couple other things for sugar metabolism or helping your body process sugar, use alpha lipoic acid. You can also use the amino acid taurine. You can also use the amino acid arginine. This is by no means comprehensive, but this will give you a nice starting point for helping the body process sugar. So step number one, reducing your intake of the sugar, the foods that mess up your blood sugar. And step number two, use the nutrients that help your body process sugar. I cannot emphasize how important this is for your condition, David. It has nothing, you don't need your Synthroid or TSH or T4 levels checked. Stabilize the blood sugar. By the way, you'll notice that the weight will drop when that happens, and that's your indicator that you're on the right track. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is patch up the digestive system. At the age of 68, if you're 20 pounds overweight and you suspect thyroid problems, there's no way that you got a pristine or perfectly operating digestive system. So look, search, find digestive symptoms, including diarrhea, constipation, bloating, gas, etc. Connect those to foods, see what foods are causing those problems, and you may have to write everything down and do a food diary, and then eliminate those foods. As far as supplements go for the digestive tract, nothing, and I mean nothing, is more important than probiotics, the biolumin nightly essence, as well as fermented foods. Make sure you can get a book called The Art of Fermentation if you want some good recipes, but make sure you're using sauerkraut, fermented beets, fermented veggies of all kinds, and you can make your own, by the way. It's very easy to do. The Art of Fermentation has wonderful recipes in there. There's a couple other things too. Hang tight, we'll finish up when we come back.
Okay.
If you're on hold, don't go away, David. I got a couple more things for you. If you're on hold, hang tight, we'll get to you as well. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to David in Utah. Hey, Dave. How you doing, man? You there, buddy?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, so the thyroid is secondary, or the thyroid dysfunction, I should say, follows problems with blood sugar and the digestive system. So those are the two areas that you want to work on. The thyroid problems are secondary. They follow other issues. So you can't really address the thyroid without addressing the primary causes of thyroid breakdown or thyroid problems. And that is first the blood sugar and insulin, all the things we just talked about before we went to break, eliminating the problem foods, and then using nutrients that help you balance, help you process sugar, and then patching up the gut. It's very important that you associate digestive issues, that you find digestive issues, and then associate them with foods, and then you use nutrients that help protect the digestive lining. Most important is probiotics, of course, the biolumin nightly essence, and fermented foods. The Fuchs Z can also have a nice soothing and growth stimulating effect on the lining of the digestive tract. You can also use the glucosamine caps, the glucogel caps, as we just talked about. You might want to consider looking for problem foods, grains and vegetables that contain the lectins that we just talked about. That's another strategy. Zinc, 50 milligrams a day, is very important for the digestive tract, as is vitamin A and essential fatty acids. So get on the Healthy Start Pack. Throw in 50 milligrams a day of zinc picolinate. Use the Fuchs Z. Make sure that you're on a good probiotic supplement like the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Eat fermented foods. Apple cider vinegar can be very helpful after meals in addition to the ultimate enzymes. Make sure you're using your Mighty 90 essential nutrients, including the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and restricting or at least limiting as best as you can your intake of insulin and blood sugar spiking foods. And if you can't muscle your way away from the table, it helps to eat more protein, especially the Slender FX and whey protein, and coconut oil. These are all wonderful strategies that have nothing to do with directly working with the thyroid. You notice I didn't say anything about directly working with the thyroid. I didn't tell you about iodine, which doesn't, it's not a cure-all for the thyroid, as important as it is. We approach the causes, which are in the blood sugar system and the digestive system. Does that help you, my friend?
Yeah, it does. Actually, I had a autoimmune situation 3 years.
Well, hello. It's the same thing, buddy. That's a digestive issue. That's what I'm telling you. The thyroid is linked to all of this. You'll notice that once you take care of the blood sugar and the digestion, your autoimmune symptoms will also you'll also reduce those symptoms.
Yeah, they put me on everything from cortisol to methotrexate.
Well, that's
what actually relieved it was taking 2 betaine hydrochlorides of pepsin.
And it relieved your autoimmune issues. You should be a doctor, David. Go hang a sign up outside your door and say, I'll take care of your autoimmune issues. That's what I'm telling you. We don't need doctors, you guys. This is David from Utah. He took care of his own autoimmune issues with no prednisone, no insurance companies, no Obamacare, with a couple of betaine hydrochloride. Thanks, David. I appreciate you sharing, too, by the way. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I do this program. Let your doctor find a real job where he really helps people. This is so unfair, and I don't mean to rip on doctors. I apologize because I got a lot of friends who are doctors, but this is not fair. You can take care of your own health issues without the medical model. All right, 844-236-6010. Let's go to Mike in Colorado. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to talk to you.
Same here. Where in Colorado are you?
My question.
Where are you? In Denver?
Netherlands, just above Boulder.
Netherlands. Do I know you?
As they say.
Have we met?
No, you don't. I just found you a couple of weeks ago on.
Okay.
You were on somebody else's show, maybe Joyce Riley's, and then you came on right after her. I said, "Wow, that's pretty neat."
Okay.
Well,
cool.
Anyway, my grandson is getting ready to have its first food, and we were discussing this morning about what he ought to eat first, and we were
veggies. Veggies. Get them on.
But we were just broccoli.
Yeah, broccoli's an awesome one. Yeah, broccoli's awesome. Here's the problem, though. There's a little bit of a problem. First of all, you want to steam the broccoli a little bit to release the sugar, or maybe braise it.
That's where I said, because she thought it was too dry, and I said, no.
Steam it and put oil.
Get it soft.
Steam it. Just steam it to soften it and release the sugar, and then put butter or some kind of oil on there, and then grind it up.
Okay.
Yeah, oil will help pull out some of those nutrients. But here's and you're going to want to use a Vitamix. You're going to want to use a Vitamix with the oil or some kind of grinder to grind everything up into a paste. Put a little carrot in there, maybe, not too much. You want to be careful with the sugar, with the baby. But here's the thing with vegetables.
Yeah, we were discussing that too, sugar,
You got to be careful with the sugar. So just be judicious about it, a little bit of carrot or beet maybe, but not a lot. You don't want him getting addicted to the sweet taste. Babies and children and adults, for that matter, get addicted to the sweet taste, and you don't want that to happen.
Well, I'm working on getting rid of my candida, And,
that's all linked.
I realize it's sugar addiction,
Yeah, absolutely.
And
if you could, let me finish up here, Mike. Let me finish up because we're going to run out of time. Okay. So you want to grind up the veggies. If you can put a little bacteria in there, ferment it. That could be helpful as well. Get them a little bit of probiotics. But you want to be careful with vegetables, okay? Because vegetables are not, as we said at the beginning of the program, they're not necessarily benign. You can react to vegetables. So pay attention to how he feels. Pay attention to if he, there's digestive issues, diarrhea, or if he's kind of, he's cranky, colicky, that kind of thing. And if that does occur, then you're going to want to play around with the vegetables a little bit. So mashing up the vegetables, grinding them up with oil, butter, coconut oil maybe, and fermenting them, and then paying attention to how he responds to the vegetables. When you find a nice menu for him, that can be a nice way to wean him off of breast milk. You can actually even put a little bit of whey powder in there, or whey protein powder in there as well to boost up the nutritional value. Okay?
Okay. So you say fermenting now probiotics or fermented food?
Same. Probiotics are good bacteria. That's a generic term for good bacteria. But fermented foods are made with these good bacteria. Get The Art of Fermentation.
Right.
I forgot who wrote that book, but it's a great book.
I've made my own sauerkraut stuff.
Okay, so you know what to do. There you go.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling, Mike. Oh, shoot. Mike, call back if you're listening. I apologize. I just cut him off. Mary in Michigan, welcome to The Bright Side. What's going on?
Hi, Ben. The guy who called the other day and said you need that second hour,
Yeah.
he was absolutely right. You also need to be on shortwave.
Now tell me about shortwave. What's the deal with that? I used to have one.
Well, Alex is on shortwave, and I mean most of the people on GCN are on shortwave. But that way, I could hear you without the computer because I'm sometimes not able to use the computer.
You know, I just work with GCN and I just do the show, but I will contact GCN and let them know. Thank you for sharing that, Mary.
Bless your heart. Now, what I called about was you were talking about the grains.
Yes.
I've got the book, The Art of Fermentation, and I've been making that dosa. It's the fermented rice with lentils.
Nice. That's I never heard it. DOSA.
DO. Yeah, I think that's what.
Did you get the book? How did you know about the book? How did you know about the book? Excuse me.
It's in the book.
How did you know about the book, Mary? Mary, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. How did you know about the book from the show?
I don't know whether it was from you or from Joyce Riley's show, or I don't, the Power Hour. I one of them.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think I ordered it from the Power Hour.
We only have a minute, Mary, so ask me if you have a question, or did you just want to share?
Yes, I do. I want to know about the using that. Does that contain the same things? I mean, it's seeds, it's rice, and it's lentils. Does that contain the same?
Oh, yes, seeds and rice and lentils, absolutely, and especially lentils, contain lots of lectins. Beans and lentils and such, legumes, they're really... Yes.
Will fermentation eliminate that?
Yes or no. It could go both ways. You're going to have to pay attention. It's conceivable they could. Absolutely conceivable that could happen, but maybe not. You're going to have to see how you react to it. It goes both ways.
Okay. Do we have time for another question?
Sure. When the music starts, that's when we have
nascent iodine as opposed to iodoral.
You know, nascent iodine's nice. Iodaral's just a little bit cheaper. It could go either way. Personally,
well, I've heard that there's something in the iodoral that's not in the nascent that the rest of your body needs, just not just your thyroid.
No, that's not true. I don't know. At least not that I know of. I need a little bit more details in there. Nascent iodine is a little bit easier for the body to utilize, but you're getting so much iodine in the iodoral that can override it, and the iodoral is significantly cheaper. You're going to have to make your own decision on that. I know Dr. Group
I've been
came up with
using iodoral and not really feeling a significant difference, and I've been using
how much?
Oh, geez, I can't remember. The higher, I guess it's 50.
You're taking 50 milligrams?
Instead of 12 and a half, it's double the...
And you're not noticing anything?
And I didn't notice much of anything, but when I started taking the nascent, I'm actually feeling warmer.
Take the nascent. That's what I would do.
Okay.
I hear really good things about the nascent. I love Dr. Group and Alex, too, by the way, and they're promoting it. So the nascent might be something you want to think about. You're going to have to see how you do. Thanks for your call, and thanks for the kind words, Mary. Appreciate it. God bless. Have a beautiful day. Yeah, a lot of times, I'm giving you theory here, but a lot of times you're just going to have to see how you react to these things, and you'll know more than I do. I'm just giving you the theory, but it's really about the practical aspects of these things, how your body specifically reacts to these things. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, spectacular, awesome day. Bye for now.